Back at you here with another episode of Spoiler Alert. Today, we're going to be talking about the new movie that is still in theaters, I would assume, hopefully by the time I get this up. Paranormal Activity 3. So, let's get to it.
Spoiler alert!
So, in Paranormal Activity 3, if you've seen the other two movies, you kind of know what to expect. The first movie had the chick and the boyfriend who was a douchebag, and the boyfriend gets killed by the chick after she gets possessed by the demon that was in the house. Bing! I know that is like a way oversimplification of it, but you know, and I'm speaking in terms of how it fits in to the sequels, because I realized that this was not actually originally intended to be a sequel, technically speaking, one of those sequelitis movies, so to speak. It was originally intended to be its own movie, but even then I felt like there were certain aspects that alluded to a sequel. So I feel like even then the original directors and the original filmmakers, the original filmmakers wanted to do something with the story and make another movie out of it, possibly in the future. But they probably didn't expect the success that it has had to this point. Anyways, I digress. If you watch the original festival ending of Paranormal Activity 3, it will be clear to see that this really does exist as its own film. Not Paranormal Activity 3, I'm sorry, Paranormal Activity. But after the other ending, the theatrical ending, it made it much more open to sequels, and they decided to do sequels. And in the sequel, they discussed, you know, the picture that she finds in the first movie above her house in her attic. And they kind of explain how it got there. They explain that there was in the first movie that there was a fire, that their house caught on fire and burnt down when they were kids. And they also explain that in the second movie. They also talk about a fire in the second movie as well. So, what is my major issue with Paranormal Activity 3? Because I did like the movie, but it's important to note that the major issue I had with Paranormal Activity 3 was that at least in the theatrical release, there is absolutely no mention of the fire that burnt down the house, which is mind-blowing considering that the first two films allude to something in their past, to when they were kids, their house caught on fire and burnt down, and you know, this was a very traumatic episode in their lives, basically. And so, you know, you figure that when the third movie shows them as kids in a house, you know, not only as kids in a house, but when the third movie shows you trailers that shows you the picture from the first and second movie, the one that showed up in the attic and everything, that was all fucking burnt and everything, yeah. You would figure that if they're going to show you that picture and allude to the fact that it has something to do with the third movie, and then show you in the third movie that they are kids, that okay, so for the first two movies we've been promised that there was a house fire when they were kids. They show us in the third movie that this is back when they were kids. They show us in the third movie that this has something to do with the picture. But they fail to mention anything about a fire at all in the third movie. There was no house fire in this movie. There was no house burnt down to the ground in this movie. Nothing of that sort. Nothing. I mean, you would think that if they're going to show it in the first two movies, and then they're going to allude to it in the trailer for the third movie, you would think that they would at some point at least mention the fact that, oh, by the way, the house burnt down. But they don't. They don't ever even fucking bother to do that. I wasn't the only one. I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were both sitting in the theater after the movie ended, waiting for some secret, scene at the end that showed the house burning down. That's all I wanted, was one little scene with the house burning down. It shouldn't have cost that much. You didn't even have to be real. It could be the fakest looking fire ever. I don't care. It's part of the fucking story to this point. Where the fuck is it? It doesn't exist in this movie. Why? Now, I will say that this was a very well done movie. The third movie was pretty damn well done. I felt like the humor that existed in it was something that was kind of maybe sorely lacking in the first few movies, and the humor really helps you to differentiate between what's scary and what's you get a little humor and then you get a little scare. I don't know, it worked pretty well. It was palatable. And in this movie, you've got a father that for the first time ever is not a douchebag. I am shocked. I was completely shocked. This guy, he's actually a pretty cool guy. And in fact, when he's confronting the ghosts or spirits he doesn't know anything about, he is very polite. There's a scene with like him playing tea party with his daughter, and his daughter mentions that this ghost is there with them, or her imaginary friend is there with them, who at this point he realizes is a ghost or something like that. So when he accidentally tries to sit down where this ghost supposedly is sitting, he steps aside. He says, I'm sorry. That's something you don't see from the other douchebags in the previous two movies. You see people who actually, you see somebody who actually gives a damn in this one. A guy who's not a douchebag, who's, trying to be as polite as possible. So it's kind of sad to see what happens to him in the end, but, that's Paranormal Activity for you. And I did like the route that they went with the, spoiler alert, huge spoiler alert here. I like the route that they went with the whole witchcraft thing, the coven of witches or something going on there, that isn't really fully explained. I feel like that is definitely a good way to take the story in a new direction that will make for some pretty damn good sequels. I have to say, most horror movies with sequelitis, the sequels always progressively get worse and worse and worse. But so far, I think with Paranormal Activity 3, this one is getting better. Because I liked Paranormal Activity, and then Paranormal Activity 2 was okay. But Paranormal Activity 3, it's also okay, but I would argue that even though it doesn't exactly follow the storyline of the past two to the T, that it's still a better movie in many ways than Paranormal Activity 2 was. So, yeah, there's that. The only other thing I wanted to talk about was that the trailers lie. They are liars. The trailers are full of lies. And this isn't a bad thing. It's a tactic. Literally the day that I was going to watch the movie, I was in the shower thinking, wouldn't it be cool to do a horror movie for once that brought back those old days when they used to show us things in the trailer that never actually happened in the movie. Wouldn't it be cool to see that again? And shock and awe, Paranormal Activity 3 turns out to be just that. I was not expecting that. I was just thinking it would be cool to see that. So I wasn't really disappointed in that. But even in the trailer, they alluded to the fact that a house is burning down. They show a small clip of a house burning down. You don't even get that in the fucking movie. That is an important, integral part of the story, and they just left it out. What the frick are you thinking about? What the fuck? Henry Joost, Ariel Schulman, I love you guys. I really do. Catfish was an amazing film, and that's why I knew you would take Paranormal Activity 3 and do something pretty freaking awesome with it, which you did. But you at least have to stay true to the story. It's clear that you had this shot. All you had to do was put that shot in there at the end. All you had to do. You didn't even have to explain it. That's all you had to do to make it fit in with the other movies entirely. And you didn't do that. I have a feeling that this was cut out of the film, maybe not by the directors, but by the fucking studio, which I just have to say, fuck you, Paramount. I don't understand why they always have, when it seems like they always have to fucking toy with things. They have to fucking, it seems like they've done it with the past movies too. They did it with the first movie where they took out important, integral things and, put in the fucker, douchebag boyfriend getting thrown at the camera. I mean, we didn't need to see that. Jump scares are not effective like that. I'm sorry. But, even that was less egregious than this, I would argue. Because this aspect of the story has been building up over the past two films. You cannot, whoever the fuck decided to take this part of the film out, you cannot just take it out of the film. It belongs there. It is important to the fucking story. Whoever the fuck took it out of the film, you need to go fuck yourself. Because seriously, we were expecting, the entire audience who has been watching this from the beginning was expecting a fucking house to burn down. And guess what? We didn't get that. Why? Probably because you felt like it didn't fit in or something like that. I don't know what the fuck you were thinking, but you are a fucking douchebag and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. It's just extremely frustrating. And I gave Henry Joost and Ariel Schulman the credit for the whole, the way I think I felt like I gave them credit for the way that the story changes, but in reality, the writers, one of the writers is the guy who I believe directed the movie, the very first movie. So, and I think he's been the writer of all three movies, or one of the main writers at least of all three movies. So, really, I'm pretty sure that particular twist probably it was his doing and belongs to him. But whoever did the twist was a very excellent twist. It's missing that vital and integral and important freaking aspect of the story that we had been promised for the first two movies and we did not get in the third movie. You can't promise you can't promise something like that over a series of movies and then not deliver it. What the hell? You want to know why your movie isn't being rated higher than it is? I mean, it's getting some pretty decent ratings, but it would be rated even higher if people got what they were fucking expecting. In my last spoiler alert, I talked about how, when you get what you're expecting, it's not really scary, it's not really frightening, it's not really effective. But this isn't the same fucking thing. This is an aspect of the story that was promised to us. It isn't, it isn't a way that the film is shot. It's not non-diegetic sound. It's not diegetic sound. It's not anything about mise-en-scène or anything like that. It's the story itself. It's the aspect of the story itself that was missing, that we were promised over the past two movies and did not get. That is a fair expectation to make, that we're going to get what we've been promised over the past two movies in the story. We didn't get that. And that's frustrating as hell to me and anyone else who noticed that, oh, by the way, they left this out. So, anyways, that'll do it for this episode of Spoiler alert. I'll catch you later. Peace.